Hi, I'm Tiffany and this is Towering TBR. So, I am currently reading Child of the Dark, written by Carolina Maria de Jesus. And this is a Brazilian classic, a diary of sorts of living in a favela, which is a brilliant Brazilian slum. And it got me thinking, I really do like classics when I pick them up, and I really haven't read that many, so I decided this is going to be kind of my list of classics that I'm interested in and will eventually want to read. And I definitely would love to have your input, so if you've read any of these, let me know if it's worth it or if it's not. And if there are any I don't mention, let me know what you think I should read as well. Because, I mean, classics are classics for a reason. They must appeal to a lot of people. So, without any further ado, I'll get into the ones that I'm interested in. And this is going to have modern classics and, regular older classics as well. So, one that I'm interested in is So Long a Letter by Mariama Ba. I'm pretty sure this is a Senegalese classic about a woman basically talking about the negative and harmful ways that her society treats women. I've heard that this is a feminist novel. It is written in letter form, and that interests me. And it's also very short. So I will probably pick this up at some point in the future. I also have Cold Comfort Farm by Stella Gibbons. This is, I think, a satire of British rural life, and I've heard it's really funny, so I'm also excited to pick this one up. I love science fiction, and when I heard about The Chrysalids by John Wyndham, which is kind of a science fiction dystopian world where genetic mutation thrives, and so this sounds appealing to me as well. And I've never read any John Wyndham, so that'll be exciting. The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. I actually started this in high school and promptly became a vegetarian. This is about the meatpacking industry and about how there weren't really regulations before the FDA and labor unions, and so people got squished in the meat machines. They would lose limbs. It was just a nightmarish situation, and I don't know if I'll be able to stomach this, but I'm interested in it, especially because it focuses on early 1900s, which is a period of time that I'm interested in. I have this bind up of 5 Agatha Christie stories, but the one I want to read is The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. I have read multiple books by Agatha Christie before, but I've heard that one has one of the better twists, and I don't know what it is, so I'm excited to pick that up at some point. Valley of the Dolls by Jacqueline Susan. All I know is this is like something to do with women and pill popping. So I've heard it's really good, and I'm excited to give it a try at some point. I have Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children. This is about when India gained its independence in 1947. The children that were born at midnight, they kind of have magic powers, and their fates are somehow intertwined with the fate of India. And it just sounds really interesting. And I know very little about India or the partition, so I think that this will definitely intrigue me. I also want to pick up Ursula K. Le Guin. This is The Lathe of Heaven, and it's quite a short one, so that's probably a good place to start. She writes classic science fiction, and since I love that, I think I might really love her as well. Again, on the science fiction, I'm interested in Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. This is a dystopian society, and that's all I know about it, so I'm intrigued. I also want to pick up Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. And I know that this is written in kind of like a dialect, which I actually struggle reading. But there's an audiobook, and I've heard that it's really good. So I am excited to pick this up. I've never read anything by Zora Neale Hurston, so. A book that is quite the booktube darling, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Yeah, all I know is this is kind of a gothic, spooky tale about a woman who marries this guy and there's some sort of intrigue. So, yeah, I can't believe I haven't read this yet, but I don't like spooky stuff too much, so I guess that sort of makes sense. And then I was recommended How Green Was My Valley by Richard Llewellyn. This is a coming-of-age story in a Welsh mining town focusing on some young people growing up there. And I was recommended this when people find out that my favorite book is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith, which is also a coming-of-age tale. And they've said that this one has kind of a similar vibe. So I'm excited to see what it's about. And then I don't really read horror, but I still want to try The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. I know that the first episode of Supernatural was based on this story, and so that intrigues me. And then I also know that Wilkie Collins was a contemporary of Dickens. They were actually friends at the same time, like friends and writers during the same time. And yeah, I haven't picked up anything by Wilkie Collins yet. I want to read Hunger by Nut Hampson. This was originally published in 1890, and I've just heard that it's amazing. It also won the Nobel Literature Prize, so that's pretty cool. He slips into bouts of madness, paranoia, and despair. Yeah, this just sounds great. And then I know I want to read East of Eden by John Steinbeck. Part of me thinks I should start with Grapes of Wrath first, because I've heard that this is like his very best writing, and I don't necessarily want to start with the best, and then because everything's downhill from there. But at some point I want to read this. It has a family at the heart of it, and two brothers who have this rivalry. So yeah, that sounds good. It also has these deckled edges, which I don't know about you, but I love. I want to pick up some more Dickens, so I would like to read Oliver Twist. I read Dickens this year and last year for the first time and absolutely loved it. And so I thought I'd start probably another one at some point. See. I have The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. I don't know anything about what this is about, except for people have just said it's really good. Intriguing to me. Same with Middlemarch. Actually, now that I think about it, this might have been the one that Olive actually recommended. Possibly both, but I haven't heard a bad thing about Middlemarch. Even though it is an enormous chunker, everybody who reads it has told me that it is so worth it. It is so good. So yeah, I'm excited to get to that at some point. I'm also interested in reading The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I do know the twist, but I still think it'll be really interesting to read it and to see if I like Oscar Wilde's stuff. One book I am going to, right now, commit to in the year 2023, I'm going to read Don Quixote. This is considered the first novel. It was published in the 1500s, and it is huge. It's over 1,000 pages, but I've heard that it's just such a good story and that there are quite a lot of moments of levity and humor. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. I've been wanting to read it for 4 years, but it's a bit intimidating. So if anybody wants to buddy read this with me, hold me accountable, I might have to do that. And the last book that I actually own is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Yeah. I started reading this in high school and got distracted and never finished it. So I do remember I really liked the writing style and like the gothy atmosphere. Not gothy, gothic. Gothic atmosphere. And yeah, I've read a lot of retellings, and so I think it would be good to go back to the original source material and see what I think of it. And then I have 6 other books that I'm interested in reading that I don't own. The first is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I've heard that this is one of his best. And yeah, I'm really looking to get into more of the backlist of Charles Dickens stuff. I'm also interested in picking up Breakfast at Tiffany's by Truman Capote. I read Truman Capote's In Cold Blood earlier this year and thought he was an exquisite writer, and I want to pick up something else of his. I know there's a movie adaptation, but I've never seen it, so I don't really know what it's about, but it's still one that I want to read. I think an African classic is called Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, and I don't really know what that one's about, but I like getting classics from different countries that I don't know a lot about because it helps me learn. 3 more on my list. The first is Johnny Got His Gun by Dalton Trumbo. This is an anti-war story. I've heard it's quite gory and graphic, so I would have to be in the right mood to pick that one up. I also want to pick up The Well of Loneliness by Radcliffe Hall. This is considered, I think, the first lesbian novel. And yeah, it was quite scandalous at the time because I think it was late 1800s or early 1900s. And so yeah, I'm interested in that. And then the last one I want to check out, I think, is The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. It's the first time travel story, and that's a trope I love. So I think that one would be quite a lot of fun to read as well. So those are all the classics that are on my radar that I'm interested in reading. I'm sure I missed some, so if there are any that you think I really should prioritize or at least get on my list, let me know down below. And hype me up for the ones that I have. Let me know which ones you've enjoyed and which ones are worth it. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.